Now we're going to create a story map from our content. And why would we do that? Well, we have a dashboard, and I suppose one could argue this tells the story. If we added a block of text, this could take the place of a story map. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Again, it depends on what your needs are, but I want to show you how to connect these things. So in my case, I do want to have a story map built. And so we're going to go to storymaps.arcgis.com. When I was in the map earlier, let's go to content. And we should have an additional item here. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to go to content. Notice we have a dashboard here now. We have a dashboard which we just created. We have our web map, and we have all the things that are associated, the 4 things that are associated with our survey. We don't have a story map yet, and that's what we're going to create now. So we've got 3 of the 4 elements, and we're going to go with the 4th element. You may have noticed when I was creating the dashboard earlier that if you open this map in the map viewer, remember when we went to share? Underneath share was, create a web app. And one of the things that you could create was a story map. The story maps that you can create here are what we call the classic story maps. The classic story maps. These are the ones that have been around since 2012. Okay, story maps came around 8 years ago-ish, 7 years ago. And we have a series of story maps that probably many of you have created. The Cascade, the Map Journal, the series. About a year ago, so in 2019, we created a new story maps. And the reason why, without boring you with a whole ton of detail, but I do get questions about this, is because as these tools evolved, you could do certain things in certain tools, certain kinds of story maps, and you couldn't do them in others, and they didn't talk to each other all that well. And so we decided to say, okay, let's create a platform based on the new ArcGIS API, etc., that we can add to, and it's all going to be one configurable zone instead of having these sort of disconnected ways of making story maps. So for example, if you wanted to make a story map journal and then halfway through you said, I really wanted a cascade. Sorry, you can't just say convert me to a cascade. So there was some clunkiness, and they're still very powerful, but as time goes on now, all these elements in these classic story maps are going to be ingested into the new story maps tools. And they already have been over the last year. So the reason why I brought all that story up, story up with you, is that the stuff that you can create in here are not the new story maps. It's the classic. So you can create a classic right here, but I want to nudge you into making a new story map, and you can't do that in this zone yet. At some point, you're going to see a choice for new story map, but not right now. So the reason why we need to open a new tab now is we need to go to storymaps.arcgis.com, and you need to do it that way. I know that's ever so slightly clunky. The nice thing though is that here it remembered my login. Sometimes it won't, right? So you would need to, get familiar with logging in multiple times. But okay, I'm going to create a new story. And so I'm storymaps.arcgis.com. I'm going to sign in with the same account, and I'm going to make a title here, and I'm going to call it How Walkable is Your Community? And so that is going to be here, and you see where I'm going with this, right, folks? And I've got a subtitle here, and that is great, and cover image. Okay, so we're going to create a cover image. Let's go ahead and add browse my files. Let's go to that photograph we had before and go ahead and use that and add it. All right, so we are in our story maps creation zone, and just analogous to the dashboard creation, folks, where everything was kind of driven off that plus sign, everything in these story maps is driven by the plus sign. So it's right here. And so it is really pretty intuitive. I've got as I'll share at the end, a whole tutorial on how to just make story maps. And there are others besides the ones I've written. So I'm going to add this plus sign and click on this plus sign. And now I've got, oh, well, what do I want to do here? Well, one of the things that I want to show you is the ability to add elements. So I'm going to add a quote. And there's my quote about walkability, plus sign. What do I want to add next? A paragraph. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this, folks, but just to give you an idea of how really pretty easy it is. Okay, now I've got this sort of white background with this black text. Can I configure that? Absolutely. There's all kinds of, again, design sorts of templates that you can use here. Again, if you want more power, you've got the web app builder and the experience builder. But for story maps, you've got a smallish amount of choices. Small amount of choices, easy to use. Other tools, more choices, take a little more time. Again, it just depends on what your goals are. So I'm not going to spend time on the aesthetics, but worth mentioning here. All right, let's go back to our notes. The powerful thing is coming up next. The text in the button. So I'm going to add a button. Okay. Remember, our survey was, we don't have much in it, is the issue. We have a dashboard here. We have our story map here. We have our map here. Let's go to a window and let's open content. This is a nice, I think, teachable moment because as you can see, you get a lot of tabs going. I want to go back to where I see all my content. Okay, my survey is in here. It's this form. Okay, great. Where is that form? If I go to content, I can see that there is a survey there. And if I go ahead and click on it, I'm going to see the URL for that form, which is my survey. And if I open it in Survey 123, I can open it in the browser. So, okay, there it is. And I can actually go to the survey and let's just see. I've got this little funny URL here. Let's see if this whole thing will work. I have a feeling it won't, but we'll just try it because I might need to trim off some characters there. What I wanted to do is get to that short URL. That's the ideal thing to share. Okay, but let's go back to our story map. And now I want to add a button, okay? The button, what do I want to have in that button? Let's try this. Maybe it will work, cool. Okay, so there's my survey, nice. Let's go to my story map and let's preview, okay? Story map, the new story maps have an autosave, as you may have noticed at the top there. Again, important to pay attention to autosave versus not. Your text, that's not very exciting. I need to tweak that, don't I? Okay, there's my survey. Nice. Okay. So back on my story map, okay, let's edit that again. It's a survey, so you get a limited number of characters. Okay, this looks much better, doesn't it? Last thing I wanted to, well, maybe not the last thing. Last thing though, or second to last thing, let's go ahead and add something really powerful to this. And that is, we want to add a map in here, okay? In the interest of time, I'm going to go to this map here, just as a proof of concept. So let's go to my story map. And I'm going to add, a map, okay? Oh, if I've got the same account here, I've got my walkability survey map as one of my choices because I'm in the same account. Ooh, so I can go ahead and add that in here and then you can configure it in this little editing panel where I can say, you know, I want to zoom in a little bit more on those. I can add some layers to this if I want to. I can edit the map in ArcGIS Online, as you can see here, so I can add, I don't know, watersheds and, plant species and maybe, BioBlitz survey results of the past. I can configure this map. I'm going to keep it pretty simple though. I'm going to just have it there, and I'm going to place the map. And now I've got my map without any, I don't even have to use the embed code like you've seen in a lot of tools. I just go to ArcGIS Online and put it in there. Wow, but if you have stuff that you need to use the embed code on, you can certainly do that. So there's my map inside there. Great. Very cool. What about my dashboard? What about my dashboard? Wow, look, I've got did I share that yet? I saved it. Let's go ahead to configure here. No, I don't need any of those things. Here's my link. Look at this, folks. Copy. Ooh. Now I can go back to my story map. You probably know where I'm going with this, right, folks? We are going to add, let's add a URL. There's my dashboard inside my story map. Let me just have a moment. This is fabulous. And again, I can make this prettier. I don't want to spend your valuable time doing that, but hopefully you're seeing that, you know what? This is doable. And now I've got interactivity. I can open this in a new tab, and now I've got my users can actually interact with my, admittedly not very exciting graphs at this point, but they can interact with this stuff, right? Yeah, so same with the map. I've got this expand, and now I've got, interactivity, depending on what things you put in there. Obviously, this is pretty simple, base map and my one survey point, but still, really wonderful to see. And maybe I don't want it that big. I can use some of these configuration tools. I can put some alt text in there for other viewers to look at this page, so they'll be able to navigate it, and so on. But oh, my gosh, this is just fabulous. So, okay, I'm going to publish this, and here, just like other tools, I don't want anybody to see it versus I want my whole organization to see it, my nonprofit, my government agency, my university, or just a group. Again, just a group of colleagues, or just my students, or just my research collaborators. Nice. I'm going to go ahead and publish that, and you should be able to pull this up as well because I've shared it with everyone. It's a work in progress, admittedly, but I've got all the elements in there. I've got my story map, which is this thing that we're looking at now. I've got the survey. I've got the web map, and I've got the dashboard. You didn't think we could do that in 2 hours. But again, the evolution of GIS into this cloud-based platform is really powerful. Let's have some summary thoughts here. I can put a video in there just as easily as other things. So let me just demonstrate that. So I'm back on my story map, and I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to go scrolling down. But just like we did with other content, and there's a couple of other things that I want to show you ever so briefly, and that is, but let's just get that. Let's just get that video in here. Now, in the not too distant past, you'd have to go to like YouTube or Vimeo and get the embed code. You don't even have to do that now. You've got this, me walking in a very unfriendly place. Okay, I'm on an on-ramp. No, there is no sidewalk. Anyway, the point is easy to do. You don't even have to have the embed code. Last thing though, in terms of story maps, you've got some things that are in beta now that are really powerful, but they'll soon come out in the regular mode. But they're perfectly usable. The slideshow one, let me show you. You probably noticed when I was on story maps, I had a couple of other story maps in that particular account. One of which was the young scholars story map that I just made with these inspiring young scholars from all over the world. But one of the things that I did in here, I've got a map, as you would expect, showing the location of all those scholars, and I've got little pop-ups here about where they're from and the work that they're doing. But here, I'm using it's like a slideshow mode. So as you scroll across these individual young scholars, I've got links to their actual posters, but it's a nice technique, really worked out well. And then I've got their posters sitting in a shareable site online, so you can see their posters. So anyway, the point is that was all done from the StoryMap slideshow mode. Okay.
Can you put a link to that in the chat? A link to your map.
Yep. All right, folks. Some of the closing comments. The message here: connect these tools. GIS is a platform. ArcGIS is one manifestation of that platform. You can embed, as this person did here, 10 beautiful ports, a survey in a story map. There's lots of interesting combinations. But what I would encourage you to do is, again, think about your goals. You can embed a story map inside a story map, inside a survey. And you know what I mean? You can make it crazy. Think about the limits of human cognition. The idea here is to clearly explain things, not to make them more confusing. So again, kind of tread lightly on some of the embedding that you can do. But still, I liked what these folks did. I was the GIS Day coordinator last year. I know many of you participate in GIS Day, so thank you. And I'm involved again this year, and it's going to be a great event, probably mostly virtual this year, but could be huge. But they've got a fun quiz, a survey inside their tabbed story map. This is one of the classic story maps with these tabs. So name these ports. These are the port of Tacoma people. They love ports. What's not to love? You can use a survey in a dashboard. There's a learn lesson on that. We've got, as you may be aware, a whole series of learn.arcgis.com lessons. How to make a dashboard, how to make a story map, how to use Web App Builder, how to do analysis in ArcGIS Pro, how to do Business Analyst Web with solving a problem, etc. So this is I would just want to show you this one. So this is what a lot of these learn lessons look like. They give you the final result that you can look at, and they give you step-by-step with screenshots how to do X, Y, and Z. I've got a couple in the library, one on predicting the weather. I've got another one on wind farms, locating the ideal site for a wind farm. So these learn lessons are quite good in terms of how do I move forward from here. This lesson, connecting surveys, maps, and dashboards, story maps, as I hinted at, I actually have this whole thing written up in a lesson form. So it's what we did today, but it's in text format. So if you don't want to watch the recording, you want to actually have the step-by-step, I have it all in this zip file. The zip file has the step-by-step procedures, and the zip file also has sample images that you can use, okay, for building this pedestrian survey. Again, there's lots you can do besides pedestrian friendliness, right? So think about how you would actually use this in your own work. And this whole presentation as well is shareable. I can certainly do that. So, yeah. Last bits. I mentioned the Learn Lesson Library, which is the bottom one here. There's no shortage of training courses, 1 hour webinars, multiple day. There's also the MOOCs. If you haven't taken a MOOC, we've got one on do-it-yourself web apps, which is very appropriate to what we're talking about today. We've also got one on Earth Imagery at Work, which is about remote sensing, one on location analytics, which is a business-focused one. 6 weeks-ish. It's much like a short university course where everybody's going through at the relatively the same pace and the same time. So you have discussions with colleagues. So we don't just have them open at any time. There's certain periods during the year where each one of these is offered. Survey 123. There is there's a newsletter for Survey 123. There's a big GeoNet zone on Survey 123 that our developers run, and it's quite good. And I encourage you to pay attention to those. So now, my goal was to end 15 minutes before the actual final end, so that if folks had questions, comments, things that maybe that they wanted to share, that's what I'm here for. I hope that was interesting and useful. All right, folks. Well, in that case, go forth, map on, keep on being the positive force that you all are in this world, and I hope to intersect with you at some point. I'm going to actually be able to attend some of the other SCGIS sessions here with you, so maybe I'll see you in the various chat boxes, and hopefully face-to-face at some point in some conference or another in the future. Keep in touch, and let me know if I can be of any assistance in the future.
There are a few questions here.
Yes, that'd be a good thing to check. So if I go into my developer account, can I actually create a group? Good question. I'm going to try it now that you've mentioned that. I think it's a great thing to test. So, because if you can, that would be incredibly wonderful, wouldn't it?
Joseph, do you plan to send out this recording to members of this, to people that were here, or would it be posted on the SCGIS website and accessible to SCGIS members?
Oh, I'd love to share it far and wide. You know, the more the merrier. I love these tools, and I want people to be able to use them. And if they think this recording is useful, then by all means, you know, all of the above. We can make it general public. We can make it SCGIS site as well. So yes.
Okay, so then I'll add that I will then send out a link to this recording to everyone that's on this list afterwards, okay?
Very cool. Yep. Yeah, it looks like you can create a group just fine in the developer account. Cool.
Okay, so but now the question is still, can you, and I've even had difficulty with this, you can't, if you can't have it closed to just your organization and then add people from outside your organization to that same survey, correct?
I don't know. Good question.
Okay.
Further investigation.
Yep, okay.
But at least that's the first step. Very cool. So you want to be able to do both. You want to be able to share it with everyone.
I think he wanted to share it with people who have a free account plus the people that are in his crew, is how I interpreted it.
Okay, well, if you share it with everyone, people in your own organization are still going to be able to get to it. I mean, that'll cover all bases.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, okay. So, right, Tierney, can gather data that it's a form, right? You can contribute, like you can contribute to my walkability survey, my tree survey on campus. You can contribute to the ones that I've shared with the public, yes. As long as you know what the URL is. And you don't have to have the app. All you need is the URL. And you'll be able to go into the form. So that's all, again, set up by the creator of the survey. Yep, very good. And that's what makes it, you know, like a crowdsourced tool like iNaturalist or eBird or some of the others, which I think is one of those you know, things that have been touched on in the last year in various discussions, the sort of democratization of GIS, you know, getting it, you know, getting these citizens to say, hey, here's a dangerous place in my community. Here's a crack in the sidewalk. Here's a pothole. Here's a, you know, a shrub that's overgrowing the sign, and I don't have good visibility, and all that sort of stuff. Yep, and I'm going to go into this test group, and yeah, I've got all the invite users kinds of things that I do in a regular account. Very cool. I have great respect for all of you, and again, thanks for being here. Keep up the good work that you're doing.
So thank you, Joseph, for taking the time to share your work with us, and thank you all for participating in the 2020 Virtual GIS Conference Series. For information on upcoming events, please refer to our website, scgs.org/conference. And then for free sessions, please add, or I'll make the detail that, or I'll add the detail that all those things that are recorded will be shared and accessible to members. So there's another reason to become a member and join our tribe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome.